Hello. Hi guys, am I audible? Hello. Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, guys, we will be starting soon with the session. You can let your peers know and ask them to join by 10 to. We will be starting at 10 to. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's start with today's class. Right. Yesterday we didn't had any session because I was preoccupied with some stuff. Right. Day before that, we were able to complete the first assignment, right? The basic hello world, I believe. Yeah, hello world assignment with variables, and we saw the big number, one problem from the conditional taking inputs. That is number of days, I believe, right? So we did that. Today we will be continuing the same assignment and like going through the problems, right? So yeah, today we will be having a look at big light, which triangle, which angle triangle, leap year, Fahrenheit to Celsius, Celsius to Fahrenheit, right? Anybody, if you have tried these questions, please let me know, right? So that I know how many of you attempted these problems, or were these problems like covered in any of the classes, even let me know, right? Yeah. Okay, so did you guys tried these questions on your own, or these were covered in the main class? Oh, okay. Okay, so I got two students who tried the problems. What about the rest of the class? That was discussed in yesterday's class. Okay. Okay. Okay, so yeah, please let me know. I guess maybe there was a substitute at my place yesterday, right? Um, so did yesterday? Okay, all right, yeah, all right, cool. So yeah, guys, please let me know which problems were discussed yesterday so that we can like catch without wasting any time. I believe Fahrenheit to Celsius, Celsius to Fahrenheit is covered, right? Both these problems. Okay. Big light and which angle triangle is that covered? Yes. Okay. So that basically leaves us with input outputs in Java and leap year, right? These two problems are left for us to discuss, I guess. Okay. Okay, so let's start with the basics first. Let's have a look at the problem input output in Java. right? Let's just to get started with the class, right? So let me just share my screen and let's start with this problem, right? Okay, so you guys want explanation of which angle triangle? Okay, yeah, sure. We can have a look at that also at the end, right? Let's first finish the assignment, and if we have some spare time, let's say 10-15 minutes, we can like go through the assignment doubts, club them all together, right? Yeah. So let's start with the easy one, right? This problem is input output in Java, right? I guess I covered the input output part in the first class also, right? So let's go through the problem description together. In this challenge, you will learn to read input and input for the first time. Like most popular way to read Java is using scanner. Yes, I showed you how to create a scanner class, right? This is the exact syntax that is used every time, right? Now, the code above creates a scanner object named scanner and uses it to read an integer. It prints out using system.out.println, right? Int mine. That is the integer variable that was created. Cool. So our code will be printing this. My int is 5, right? So what do you think? What should we do? Like, what should be the steps to solve this question, right? Just give me step by if you guys are able to like create an algorithm, right? What I want you to do is like try and think in your brain, okay, so what are the exact steps that I need to perform in the code, right? Okay, so we know, yeah, all right. So we know that we need to take inputs and print something on the screen, right? But what are the other aspects that are involved in taking the inputs, right? How do we start to think of algorithm generation, right? That is what I want you to like pay attention to. See, in this problem, we are say given that we need to create a scanner, right? After that, what does the scanner do? It takes the input. So in the algorithm, the first step should be first we will be creating the scanner, right? After that, from scanner, we need to take the input, and that is to be stored in the variable that we will create. That is the second step. Now, on the third step, we will be printing that like say that variable in which the value was stored. See, it was easy 3 points, but what I want you to do is every time you approach a problem, at least think of the steps that are that you need to apply in a orderly manner. All right, so that you are always like thinking in a way of creating the algorithm, right? Rather than just going for the solution, you are able to see, visualize. Okay, so each and every step. Okay, there were 3 steps, right? So let's say first I create a scanner class. Scanner, right? Let's call it SC, shorthand for scanner. Let's create a new object of scanner class. SOS system.in, right? Okay, so this is the first step that I discussed. Basically create the first scanner. Now after the scanner, I need my integer. I need my variable to store the integer in. Guys, is the font clear, or I need to like last time you said 16, so yeah, 16. Okay, so we can name any we can name the variable anything, right? So let's create a variable of as per the given format. Let's do it my int. So what do we do now? We simply take an integer input, right? So we'll be doing sc dot nex next int next int. So this is a function that is implemented in scan class that basically helps us to extract the integer value from the constant. Now, what is the last step that I discussed? We are done with the setup part. Now it's about like delivering what was asked. So we can do is system dot out dot print ln, right? Print ln. Now, what do I need to do? I need to print. They are asking me to print my int, right? So I can simply type my int and this should work, right? So are you guys sure this code will run? Is there any error that you can like see or you can like say, right? Is there any error? All right, so let's try and run this code once. Okay, please enter some. Okay. Okay, so let's give the input value as 6. Right now, let's check for the output. Right. Okay. So in the output, we got a 6. Now, you guys said that there is no mistake, right? Okay, I agree. But is the output that we are getting exactly similar to the one that was asked? Is it exactly the same? No. So what is the mistake here? See, the main mistake here is this is very like crucial thing that I want you guys to again pay attention to, because many times you will be asked to generate some sort of an output by a prompt, right? Your algorithm will be correct, your like code will be correct. The only place where you will be finding let's say the problem or the issue is ki you are doing everything correct, you are printing out the output, your output is correct, but it's not matching exactly with what was asked, right? See, I was asked to print the answer in following manner, right? So what I will be doing is I will be writing the custom text that is my int, right? Again, pay attention to every character, right? A space is also considered as a character. Okay, so exact spacing, exact everything should be same. So after you can see the semicolons or the columns, I have a space in between the number and the column. So there should be a space here also, right? If I just omit the space, I will be getting a wrong answer, right? Although everything seems to be correct, but there is a slight space. So I need to give it a slight space, right? Okay. So now let's try and run this code and see what do we get. Okay. Okay. So you can see my int is my int, basically my int space is colon and a space in between, right? And then I got a 6, right? So do you believe this time it's correct? 3 output. Uh, Mehran, I'm not able to get what you're saying. 3 output. What does that mean?
So when you will scroll down the questions, they are saying for the three inputs and three outputs, and in that we don't need to print my int.
Check next example. Acha, okay, okay. So I guess I basically missed that. Thank you guys for that. Right. So okay, so I just saw ki it is this. So let's continue with the problem description, right? In this challenge, you need to read 3 integers and then print them. Each integer must be printed in a new line. There are 3 lines of input and each line contains a single integer. Okay. Uh, do not print anything extra, just print the numbers only in separate lines. Make sure you give 3 integers in the input box below. Okay. Okay. See, okay, so that was a mistake on my part that I didn't really read the entire code. But see, the what I just said, right? Please pay attention to that also, because last time when I was teaching my batch, the major doubts, like the major problem that children were facing is कि they said, sir, हमारा code बिल्कुल सही है पर हमारे ना test cases pass नहीं हो रहे. So whenever I used to have a look at their code, so I always said ki just make sure that the output that you are generating is exactly matching what is asked by the compiler, right? Because compiler is not a human, he is not going to make a similarities between two outputs. He is going to check character by character, right? So just always pay attention to it is a lesson that I wanted to give you guys so that in future you don't face such an issue that we had in past, right? The past batch had. Cool. Okay. Uh Okay, so I don't know Hindi. So what I just said is ki the Hindi part was ki last time children used to give me the code. When I looked at the code, the only issue was ki they were not printing what was exactly asked, right? They were somewhere missing the spaces, colons, or any of the combination of the characters, right? So that was the major issue that children used to have, due to which they used to like always be stuck in ki sir, we are not able to like attempt the problems although we know the concept and we are coding it right. So if there is something problem with the portal, what is the problem? No, it's just कि you have to like keep this in mind कि when the online judge checks your codes with the pre-written outputs, it it compares character by character, right? So that's why everything needs to be exact a match. All right. Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's do with the what was the problem was. Okay, so what are the changes that I need to do now, right? Okay, so we need three inputs. So I can have three inputs. So let's do that also, right? So let's create three variables. Let's quickly do that. Let's name the variables A, B, C, right? Yeah. Let's do, okay, let's A, B, C, right? Now let's also perform the output operation, right? So let's do this, right? Yeah. So this time we need not to print anything extra. So I can basically remove it, print A, right? I can remove this, print B. Now I remove this, I get a print of C, right? So is there anything left apart from this in this function? Let's say there are three lines of inputs and each line contains a single number integer. Okay, so we have to give three integers as the input, right? So let's do it. Basically 6, 7, and 8, right? So let's try and run this code. Right. So we got 6, 7 in, right? If you guys want to have a look at the code, even I printed, it's showing 6 score. Okay, so just give me a sec. I will be having a look at that also. All right. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Any error you guys are able to find in my code, right? Please let me know, or should I try to submit it? No. Okay, so let's try and submit it. Let's see what scores I get. Okay, so I get 3 by 3 test pass, right? So every test case, I guess we passed. So yeah. So any doubts in this problem, right? Are you guys able to like follow along with the things that I taught, right? Okay, it was an easy question, so that's why I like really wanted to teach you the main part. That was the exact matching of the outputs. Okay. Can we get inputs like this? Input like this? Like what? If you can let me like input like this, I'm not able to get what you're saying. If you can just unmute yourself, you can better explain. Uh, I guess not, because see what has happened is key integer st dot next int basically takes the next integer, right? So it will be giving you an error, right? I guess. But in my question, it is showing 6 score even it is passed. Okay, so since what question you are talking about, is this the exact like question, the same question, input output in Java?
Yes, sir.
But I guess there are only 3 test cases, right? So how can you get a score of 6?
Yes. I'm not talking. See, sir. You are also
Okay, so
there is
6.
6.7.
Yes, even the
Okay.
score is same as user. I don't know why
Oh,
it happened. I even don't see
oh.
in any test case, but it's showing 6.7.
Okay, so I will be like communicating this to the batch manager, right? I guess this is also a bug that is fixed. All right, cool. But no worries.
Yes,
See,
even
learning,
even I
yeah.
even I completed my last three stars and hello world, but still it
Uh-huh.
doesn't showing any scores.
Last. Okay, so I will let the batch manager know because the last time also you guys told that the problem
Yes,
was
sir.
there with some question. So yeah, we communicated and the team is like trying to fix it, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
it's a always a development phase. So yeah, you will be like if you're facing, don't worry, you can just have a communication with me, right? In this case, in this question also, you got a 3 by 3 pass, right? The main concept was are you able to like take inputs and output? You are able to do that. So just don't worry about the score, mainly focus on the learning part, right? In learning, if you have any doubt, you can let me know, right? So you have seen test case two, that's why your marks got reduced. Okay, yeah, but I saw the test case two after the submission. If that is the case, let's check again. Let's see this. I'm getting a score deduction. I guess not because the submission is, let's say, done. Let's try and submit. Okay, yeah.
No,
So
sir.
that's why.
But I didn't check any my test case, but still it's showing 6.7.
Okay, okay. All right, no worries. But see, it's not a big deal. Like score is not important in this case, right? It's basically you are able to like pass all the test cases, right? Got it? Okay, so any doubt in this problem, any sort of like thing you want to discuss, or let's move to the next problem that is leap year. Like quickly, let me know any doubt or the next question, right? Please let me know in the chat, right? Okay, so how to print in single line, right? How to print in single line. See, if you want to print in single line, you can like basically omit the ln part, right? We had discussed this in the last class, right? There are basically two print statements. One is print with ln and one is print without ln, right? The simple print. The only difference is the print does the printing and doesn't takes the like basically the pointer to the next line, whereas ln basically takes that to the next line, right? So if you want to do a continuous print, just use print instead of println, right? Okay, I guess that's pretty much it from this question. Let's move to the next one. Cool. Okay. Yeah. So leap year problem, right? Cool. Leap year problem. Okay, all right. Cool. So guys, is the screen still visible, right? Is the leap year question visible? Uh, yes, sir. All right, cool. All right, see, in this problem, we are given a year. It, find if it is a leap year, right? A leap year is the year that is multiple of 4, but multiple of 100, right? Okay, so any year that is a multiple of 4 is a leap year, right? After that, we are given, but multiples of 100 which are not multiples of 400 are not leap years, right? So let's say if any year is a multiple of 100, right, and it's not a multiple of 400, then it's not a leap year. All right. Okay, so from this we can basically conclude that 400 is a multiple of 4, right? So any year that is a multiple of 4, right, is a leap year. Yeah, right. So, but we also need to make sure if the number is divisible by 400, let's say, and it's a multiple of 100, right? So, what do you think by reading this thing? Which approach is like being asked, right? What is the concept that it is like trying to check? Anything? Is it looping? It is input output, or it is conditional check?
The conditional.
Yes, you got it right. See, okay. So one more tip for you guys is, ki dekho, so far you have learned only, I guess, three concepts, right? So always try to like, okay, memorize, like basically analyze. Okay, so I'm reading this problem, right? This might be using some concept that I have learned so far. Basically, whenever you are looking at a problem, you can always, if you're like not getting any sort of approach, how do you try to find a one? Okay, so you can see ki, in this question we are like dealing with some sort of like conditions key 4 500 400 400 400, right? So there is no way it's somewhat related with input and output, right? It's not an input output case. The inputs are simple and year, and the printing is based on the leap year like conditionality check. So it is a problem of conditional check, right? In this problem it was pretty straightforward, that is a conditional check. But in the near future you will be learning a lot of algorithms, new algorithms. How do you find that thing? Okay, so let's say you learned a two pointer algorithm, you learned a sorting. Now you can like always quickly think, is this question solvable by using two pointer, right? No, it's not. Okay, you can check, try and like quickly run it in your brain, right? Is it being solved with two pointers? No. Let's try sorting, right? After that, let's try this and let's try this. That way, you can basically like narrow down to the set of algorithms that you can try to apply, right? Rather than being blank, you can try to solve. You can try to analyze. All right. So that is something that you will be facing in near future, right? So why don't we just build the practice from the scratch? Okay. All right. So we got to know that this is a problem of conditional checks, right? Okay. So let's move to the blackboard once to basically understand what this is saying. Okay. Also, let's before that have a look at the outputs, right? You need to print one in the case of leap year and zero otherwise. Okay. If the given year is a leap year, we need to print one, right? One means a valid leap year and zero means invalid leap year, right? Okay, so just let me quickly share my screen again with the notepad. Okay. Yeah. Okay, guys. Is the screen visible? Is the pad visible? Right? Is the pad visible?
Yes, sir.
No. Okay, cool. So the problem that we are discussing is leap year, right? Now, what are we said? What are the basic inputs and outputs, right? So, okay, see, for the input part, right? Let's write it as IP, I slash P. It's basic notation for input. So for input, we are given an year, right? Basically, let's call it an year, right? For example, let's say 2000 is an year that is given to us. What is the expected output, right? The expected outputs are, let's say, 1, right? In the case of a leap year, right? 0 otherwise, right? 1 in the case of leap year and 0 otherwise. Okay, so input output clear? Any doubt? Input output, right? I guess no. Okay, so apart from this, what are the set of rules that we are given, right? What are the set of rules? So the rules are, if year is divisible, right? It's divisible by 4, right? What should be the answer? If it's a divisible by 4, what do we need to print? We can basically
One.
say it's a leap year. We can simply print a 1, right? What is the next rule that we can say? The next rule is, if it is divisible, so what is multiple of 100 which is not a multiple of 400? Okay, so let's say after, okay, so we can also say if it's a multiple of 100, if it's a multiple of 100, right? Multiple of 100 which are not multiple of, okay, multiple of 100 and not a multiple of 400, right? In this case, what do we need to do? We need to print 0, right? We need to print 0, right? Apart from this, in any case, what will be the answer, right? Apart from this, what will be the answer? So if it is divisible by 4, we print a 1, right? If it's multiple of 100 and not a multiple of 400, we print a 0. Okay. The next thing that can be, let's say it is a multiple of 100 and a multiple of 100, right? So let me just mark the statements 1 and 2. So this is 3. So now these two were given to us, right? Next statements we are deriving from the above two statements, right? So what is the third? If it is a multiple of 100 and a multiple, right, and a multiple of 400. In this case, can you guys let me know what do we need to print?
Absolutely one, sir.
One.
1, right? Because if it's a multiple of 100 as well as a 400, we need to print a 1, right? Okay. Do you guys think there is any else, any condition we left?
If it is not multiple of 100, and or we can say if it is not divisible by 4, then it will print 0.
Yeah. So I guess for this, that's basically all the possible cases that we need to look on, right? The fourth one can be a clubbing of several, let's say, statements, right? If it's not a multiple of 4, right? If it's not a multiple of 4, this case will be simply handling the part, right? If it's not a multiple of 4, it's not going to basically do anything, right? We can, so we also need to reorder this, right? So we can basically say if anything else is possible, we don't think we will be getting any sort of a positive response. In that case, it will always be a negative one, right? So we can say else, just simply do a 0 printing, right? So because there is no any possibility of a true solution, right? So else you can say it's a 0, right? Now we have 4 statements, right? We have 4 statements. Can you basically think how we can like order them, right? How can we order them?
So we can combine statement first and third with the help of or.
Okay. All right, we can combine statement 1, that is it's divisible by 4, right? Basically, that means divisibility or multiplicability is same, right? So in this case, we can say if it's a divisibility of 4 and a divisibility of 100, we can print 1, right? Now, how do we check for the this case, right? We can say else if it's a divisible of 4 and not a divisible of 100, we can print 0, right? Okay, so let's have a look at how we can like start to
Excuse me,
generate
sir.
the answer. Yeah.
So can you please repeat the rule, the difference between second rule and third rule?
Okay. So second rule and third rule, right? Okay. So let me just tell you this. See, just give me a second. I need to write something, and then I will be explaining. See. Okay. So let's call A as the rule 1 and B as the rule 2. Right. Now I will be using let's say the conditional operators to basically uh, shorthand these entire step, right? So A means multiple of 100, right? A means multiple of 100, right? This is the first statement, right? B means multiple of 400. Cool. See, you can see multiple of 100, multiple of 400, multiple of 100, multiple of 400, right? These two statements are being combined together. So the second part is, right? The second statement is, okay. So the second statement is, okay, so let me just write statement 2 or condition 2 is E, it is a multiple of 100, right? So I can say it's basically A and, right? And not A, not a multiple of 400. So I can write not B, right? So now you can see what is the statement 2 meaning and what is condition 3. I guess you asked for 3, right? So in 3, we can say it is a multiple of 100 as well as a multiple of 400. So we can say it's a multiple of 100 as well as a multiple of 400, right? So basically, it's a true false and true case, right? This is
Yes, sir.
the
Yes.
got it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, let's just keep it as well. Okay, let's try and start to build the approach, right? Okay. So let's try and start to build the approach. We need to basically check if it's a multiple of 400, right? If it's a multiple of 400, that basically means it is also a multiple of 100. We can say that, right? 400 itself is a multiple of 100. We can say key 400. If a number is a multiple of 400, it's always a multiple of 100, right? So the first thing I can say is if a number, let's call the number x, right? And we use a modulus operator, right? I guess you're familiar with the modulus operator, right? Are you guys familiar with the modulus operator?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So modular operator basically gives us the remainder back, right? Using the remainder, we can check if it's a complete division or a incomplete division, right? So if a number is divisible by 400, I can basically say it's divisible by 4 and 100 and 400, right? All the three cases are being checked here, right? Now it's somewhat using maths, right? It's a problem of maths as well as a coding, right? A bit maths, right? It's basically analyzing the stuff, right? So you can see what I was saying is key. If a number is divisible by 400, it's a multiple of 100 and 400 also, right? The number will be divisible by 100 and divisible by 400. Is this statement clear, right? Is this statement clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. So what is the relation here? Basically a multiplication relation, right? So this single statement is basically covering all the three statements. So what should be the answer in this case? Quickly let me know in the chat. If it's equal to 0, that basically means we didn't got any let's say remainder, right? So what should be the answer? What should I do a print of? 1. Cool. So I guess you guys are able to understand key. It's always a valid case, basically checking the entire valid parts, right? What should be the next thing, right? What should be the next thing? See, you know of if else, right? If else. So next statement is else if, right? Else and if. Now, when is else if part executed? It's only executed if the first if or the conditions above it are false, right? So this condition basically tells me that this it will only fail if the number is not a multiple of 400, right? If the number is not a multiple of 400 and it's only then in this case we will be getting a false statement, right? So after this I can basically check, okay, so what was the next prioritized case for us? We need to basically now check this part, right? This part we handled the statement 3 in the if block only. Now we need to handle the second part, right? Because see, if it's not a multiple of 400, I can somewhat say ki, like 4 is not as of necessary because if I need to first check the 100 wala part, right? So see, if x this time is a multiple of 100, what do I need to do now? What is the print statement that is required? 0, correct. So I need to print a 0, right? Now, do we need any else statement more? Yes, we need. So else if. Okay, so else if. Okay, so far what we have covered, right? So I guess we have covered so far the ranges of that is year greater than 100, right? And anything above the 100 is covered, right? So these two statements are covered. Anything above that is let's say x greater than or equal to 100, right? What about the values that are below x, that is below 100? So we need to like now figure out the x working about. So x is greater than or equal to 0 and greater than equal, less than 100, right? Basically from 0 to 99, right? These can also be the valid inputs, right? So for this, do we need to consider the 100 part? No, right? We don't need to consider the 100 part. What is the next validity check we need? It's being 4, right? It's with 4. For larger numbers, the 4 was already checked in this part, right? If it's not that large, I can say these two will be getting me some sort of a remainder. So my conditions will fall through. And this time I can simply check if x is a modulus of 4, right? If it's a direct, if it's giving me the remainder 0, I can say the year is a multiple of 4. What do we have in that case? First statement, print 1. It's a valid answer. We can simply do a print of 1, correct. Now, what was left, right? We checked with 4, we checked the combination of 100, not 400, right? This part, we checked the combination of 100 and 400, right? So I can say, basically, given the rules, only two conditions will be giving me the true value. That is, year is divisible by 4. That is the third if else block. And if it's a multiple of 100 as well as a 400, right? So 1, that is being handled in the home. Apart from this, is there any possibility of a valid answer? No. So I can simply say else 0. That we basically figured out earlier also. Else print a 0. Cool. Right. So if I do a shorthand, right? This, guys, just give me a second, right? Just give me. Hello. Okay, so I guess I'm audible again. All right, guys, any doubts in this part, right? Any doubts in this part? I was basically zooming it out so that you can basically have a gist what we discussed, right? No, no, right? So how did we basically like find the answer in this case, right? If you guys observed it, right? It's what I wanted to teach you is, you see, don't just think of the how to build and try to see the steps. I basically first figured out the what was the inputs and outputs, right? Okay, the outputs were also two possibilities. After that, I basically analyzed the rules. I basically checked if the data provided to me was sufficient enough for me, or do I need to some basically do some sort of my own calculation and need to basically check for some other results also, right? Second step was that. After that, I basically used the if else part in the most efficient manner, right? You could have done the same thing by writing the individual test cases, right? For let's say you can have checked for if it's a multiple of 4, if it's a multiple of 4. After that, you could have checked if it's a multiple of 400 and 100, then print it's a multiple of 400, then print 1, right? If it's multiple of 100 and 400, then only print 1. And in that case, you could have used basically several if else, right? Basically manually checking each and every condition. What we did is we played smart, we used the maths a bit, and we basically worked on the properties, right? 400 is itself a multiple of 100 and 4, right? So basically the two conditions were already getting checked. So I need not to write them manually. Okay. After that, we basically leverage the property of follow through, right? In if else part, basically that is also like combining the previous results and checking it with the current one, right? So that I can have a cascading, like basically a follow through of conditional checks, right? Cool. Any doubts? Any sort of doubt in concept, code, any line in code? You can just let me know.
Sir, could you please quote this all
Yeah,
statements on?
yeah. We will be like moving to the code. I was just writing the pseudo code for your better understanding, right? In code, I won't be able to use the pen. Here, I was able to use the pen, right? Don't worry about the code. We will be doing the code. Apart from that, any doubt you have, just let me know. Any property you are not able to figure out. Okay, so if that's the case, let's just move to the coding part, right? Just give me. Yeah, guys. Screen is visible again, I believe. Right?
Yes, sir.
Screen is- Yeah. So let's start with taking the input, right? But for taking inputs, we first need the scanner, right? Okay. So let's take the scanner, SCANER, scanner SC is equals to new scanner, that is system.in, right? So far so good, right? Now we are done with the creating scanner part. We need to take in year, right? We used year with X, so let's keep it that way, right? We can simply say ki sc dot next int, right? This will be giving us the input. Apart from this, do we need any sort of other input? No, I believe no, right? Only input is key. We will be getting an input of year, right? Yes, sample input you can see only single year, right? Now, after this, we basically need to do the checking, right? What was the first if check? If x modulo 400, right, is equals to 0. What do? We do a simply system dot out dot println. What was the answer here? Anybody? 1, 2. So we can say we were doing this print 1. Now let's move to the else if part. What was the second else if? Anybody remember? X modulo,
100.
yeah. So x modulo 100 basically checking ki whether it's divisible by 400 or 100, right? If it is not divisible by 400, and if it's divisible by 100, so we are getting a case of it's a divisibility of 100 but not of 400, right? You can see this part, multiple of 100 which are not multiple of 400 are not leap years, right? So this parting is being checked here. Cool. Now let's do this. What should be the output this time? Print 0.
Zero.
Yes. Okay, good. So else if, I guess the only part left is modulo 4, right? And if the numbers are smaller than the 100, basically 0 to 99, in that case we can simply say if it's a multiple of 4, simply do a print of positive value, right? Else simply print the invalidity part, right? I believe we are good to go
Excuse
with the
me,
submission. Yeah.
सर कंडीशनल स्टेटमेंट में करली ब्रेसेस ओपन और क्लोज करना मतलब कि हर स्टेटमेंट के बाद जरूरी होता है क्या इसमें कंडीशनल स्टेटमेंट में?
Conditional, in every conditional statement, basically you are talking about the curly braces, this one, or the brackets, this one.
सर करली ब्रेसेस
This one.
नॉट ब्रैकेट. यस सर.
Okay. See, okay, so this is pretty interesting question. Okay, I will be answering to it, right? This is something that you guys really need to know, right? It's also a property in programming, I believe. It also has a name of dangling if else, right? We will be having a look at it, right? But before that, let's like finish this coding part, right? That is something that requires basic analysis, so it's not a part of this code. We will be discussing that. But in this code, can you guys find any sort of error? Or should we give it a try of like running the code?
इट्स ओके सर, यू कैन गो फॉर.
Okay, all right. So yeah, we need to give any input you guys have.
2003.
Okay, so 2003. What should be the output? What should be the output? 0.
जी.
Let's give it a run and let's check what are we getting a 0, right? Okay, so let's check with the small inputs. I believe 20 will be leap year, right? Do you guys agree? 20 will be a leap year. Yes, so let's try and run it. Yes, we are getting a valid input, right? Apart from this, also let's check somewhat that is a multiple of 100, but not a multiple of let's say 400. So we can give basically 3300, right? Not a multiple of 400, multiple of 100. What should be the answer? 0. Cool. Let's run the code. Cool. So I guess we are basically covering all the cases. So let's just try and submit it. Right. So let's just try and submit it. Viewing a test case will deduct score. Okay, you know that. Right. I got a 30 out of 30 for all test cases passing. Right. Yes. Okay. So Sim, in your case, did all the test cases passed? Yes. And did you viewed any sort of test case? Right. Let's check what is the impact of checking the test case. Right. My score was 30. It's still 30. See, if you guys have opened the test case, like in previously also, right? You, let's say, see, now if I submit again, I have already viewed the 2 test cases, right? The score is being deducted, right? But even I don't open the test cases. Okay, so sure, I will be letting the internal team know if we prefer the preference of condition change then. Okay, so we will be talking about that. So yeah, Sin, what I can do is, yeah, I will be letting the internal team know, right, what is the issue that, right, because I guess it's kind of bugging for you also because you are not getting the score, right? These two, yeah, surely I will be communicating that. But see, rather than score, just don't focus on the score as of now, right? Just check for the test case, right? Score is something to basically tempt you guys. Okay, so get the higher score, higher score, higher score. So always check for the number of test cases that are being passed, right? Okay, good. So the first question that we had is key, do we need to like add curly braces after every if and else condition, right? See, what happens in programming is key, we have 2 set of rules. Key, if I'm writing any if case, right? Let's say if x is equals to 0. If the next part that I need to execute is of single line only, right? If it's of a single line only, I can uh, I can avoid writing the curly braces, right? So let's say if I write print 0, right? This is a valid if part, right? After this, if I write, let's say else if x is equals to 1, again the next part is of printing print 1, right? I can have an again else if, right? X is equals to -1, right? Print -1. Cool. Now let's say so far so good, but are you guys able to see what is starting to become an issue, right? For single lines, it's understandable. It's okay. So it is being understandable, right? Now, what if I need some sort of a nesting, right? What if I need some sort of a nesting, right? Nesting, right? So let's say if x was -1, right? Let's say we had a rule key, if x is equals to -1, then right, then add a add a 1 to it, then add 1 to it, right? 1 to it, right? So what does this statement says key? Okay, so we need to basically ask first, let's omit the print part, right? Let's remove the print part. Let's check for the adding part, right? Or rather, let's have a look at it in this way. If x is less than 0, right? Then add 1 to it. If it's even, right? If it's even, only then add 1 to it. Now, cool. Now see, here what will be the issue? This is the rule that we need to follow, right? Okay, so now I got a else if check of x is equal, rather let's change it also, right? X is less than or equal to, basically less than, because we are having. Okay, so if else x is less than 0, I need to add 1 to it only if it's an even part, right? So I can do this. If x modulo 2 equals to 0, right? X plus equals to 1, right? Now, after this, let's say if I had any other else part for this else if wala, right? For these three blocks, right? I had some sort of else if also, right? Let's say I had a else of let's say any else key apart from these conditions, if anything is there, right? So we can't add this. If anything is there, just simply print twice of it, right? Print twice of it. So print 2 star, let's say x. Now, seeing this thing, I can say it's a valid code, right? You won't get any sort of compilation error, any sort of error, right? The compiler won't give you any sort of error. It's a valid code. But what is the issue that you can have a look at, right? What you can find the issue that is being generated, right? Anybody is able to figure out what is happening, what is the issue, right? See, if we try to omit basically the curly braces, what will happen? We have a if, else if, else if. So far, the code is being executed in a right manner, right? Every block is connected, right? Now the error becomes where I have a nested kind of situation, right? Now you can see else and if they go side by side, right? This else ideally belongs to these three conditions, right? It's a part of these three conditions. Good. But will the compiler be able to figure out in such a way that this else belongs to this if or these three conditions at the top, right? Right. It's an uncertain situation, right? Because the code is being executed in the correct manner, right? I will be placing else after this if only, right? I will be placing the else part after this if only. But the compiler won't be able to analyze this else is belonging to this if or it is belonging to the above three statements, right? There is no separation. There is no separation of concern, right? So this is called a dangling else case, right? This is called dangling else case. Now see, let's say what will happen if I had a braces. So you can see if I move the print statement above, right? Okay, so let's just give it a see. If I had this thing, right now, I can simply say okay, basically take this, move it up, right? And this else belongs to this. Now the compiler will be easily able to figure out based on the starting and the ending scope this if ends here, else if ends here, this else if ends here. So this end is out of that else if, so it's basically the part of the above three cases condition, right? It's a part of above three conditions, but earlier it was not having any specific connection, so it was not able to figure out which if condition I am really connected to. I hope this thing is clear. This is a this is the classic problem of dangling else part, right? Any doubts in this? Any doubts why the braces are required?
Sir, how many number of times we can use if, and else in
See,
our program?
see, if one time, else one time, else if n number of times, right? Basically, you are starting something, some conditional check. So there will be a single starting check. So if it will be checked using if. After if, you can have n number of like consecutive checks, and after that, else is not necessary, right? If you have a generalized case like we had, apart from this, there is not any sort of condition that is going to give me a fruitful result, I can club them together and use it, right? Now, okay. So this is also an interview question. Can we use if and else individually, right? See, yes, in case of if I have a simple case of, let's say, x is equals to 1, right? And I do some sort of stuff, right? I do some sort of stuff. This is a valid statement, right? But see, if I write else and do some sort of thing, this is invalid, right? because the compiler won't be able to know what is the first condition for which else is being executed. What is the root condition, right? We are executing else, but for what? But for what, right? Else can't be used without if can be used individually, right? Else if is also same. Else if only comes after the if part, right? Got it? I hope this answers. We use breaks, like break, like break in between the session or the code wala break. I'm not able to get it. So I guess you are basically talking about this break statement. Yeah, okay, yeah, break statement. See, what is the break statement? What does the break statement do? It basically prevents all the further conditional checks, right? So let's say okay, so see, if I had, let's say this, right? Okay, so we will be needing a if else part also, right? Okay, so let's say somewhat the conditions were checked, right? Conditions were connected. Now, after the print, I don't want the nested continuous checking also, so I can basically break it. Right? I can break. So after this break, further execution of if else, if else, if else won't be checked, right? Or let's say if I had break is basically used in loops, right? Break is highly used in loops. Or let's say if apart from if else, if else, if else, we had some sort of a condition that was always individually trying to check the code, right? Because in if else, what happens is as soon as one condition is like validated, the rest are not checked, right? In this case, break is not that sort of a useful. Break is useful in sort of a loops, right?
Sir, break is used in switch cases also.
Yes, because see, the main difference between the switch and if else is that key in if else, if one condition is validated, the rest is not checked, right? Rest is not checked. But in switch case, what happens is we have a case like structure. Even the first thing that will be executed is the first match that we get. So let's say we are checking for x is equal for the values of x. If the x value was 1, so the case that had 1 will be executed, right? After that, as soon as break gets the switch gets one valid condition, it will just continue to follow through and execute every line of code, right? In switch, that's why break is required. So basically to specify the area of execution that is concerned, right? Okay.
After the break statement, the line don't go, sir.
Yes, it won't be going further. It will just basically break out of the switch case statement, right? Jyoti, we will be looking at these questions, right? Nested loops in the assignment, right? I guess we have a loop assignment, so we will be covering that in that, right? Okay, continue. See, break is something break basically breaks you out of the entire statement, right? Let's say I'm having a loop, break is executed, so the loop won't run further, right? What does continue does is let's say I am running a loop, I hit a continue statement. Now for that iteration, that specific iteration, when I hit the continue, further code won't be executed, but the loop still continues to run, right? So that's the main difference between continue and break. Break entirely stops the execution of the loop. Continue basically skips the rest of the remaining code for that single iteration. Okay. Okay, so I guess one last doubt is remaining. I guess else everything is answered. Like, why can't we move fast? Why? Because everyone is moving too fast. Why can't we move fast? Why? Sim, can you just unmute and let me know what you said? Move fast mean basically cover the syllabus quickly. Okay, so yeah, see, I can do that. I can basically do that. I can speed up the process, right? Because see, I basically try to teach you guys the best that I can give, right? It's see, my what I'm talking about is not like concise to this only the if else part, right? I'm like basically sharing you tips and tricks also what you need to like keep in mind. So that is the part that is taking time, right? If you guys are like really interested in keeping it crisp, So I can also do that, right? It's your call. Whatever suits you best, that is good with me, right? Okay. So all right, if we are somewhat behind the state, like the class, right, don't worry, because I can assure you that the things that you will learn by giving some extra time from me will save you a lot of, let's say, the hassle in future, because this is something experience that I'm sharing, right? It's more valuable than the solution, right? You can just Google for leap year solution, you will be getting a leap year solution, right? Yeah, tomorrow we will be covering the please take more classes for us. Yes. Yeah, I will be like trying to manage extra classes, right? I will be communicating this to the batch that 1 hour is not enough, right? I will like try to extend it. Okay. But that is like designated time is 1 hour. Okay, so yeah, I guess that sums up for today. From tomorrow, we will be like quickly covering the assignments loop. I really encourage you guys to basically go through the loops assignment, right? Try to solve as many problems as you can, right? Just basically try to solve as many problems, right?
सर अभी हम लोग की एक ही क्लास चली है बस डेटा टाइप्स की बस
एक ही क्लास चली मतलब
मतलब हम लोग का पहला दिन था बस उस दिन क्लास चली थी फिर सर की तबीयत खराब हो गई आखिरी 2 दिन से
हाँ आदर्श सर ना
हाँ हाँ जी
हाँ वो कोई बात नहीं यार वो वही अभी है तो वो तो कोई बात नहीं है हेल्थ का इशू है वो सर आदर्श सर से बढ़िया इंस्ट्रक्टर नहीं है लाइक आपको थोड़ा सा टाइम दोगे तो आपको समझ आएगा आदर्श सर क्यों आपको मिले क्योंकि इनिशियल फेज में जो बिल्डअप करना होता है ना लाइक कैंडिडेट के
हाँ
लिए तो वो ज्यादा रहता है आदर्श सर से अच्छा आपको टीचर नहीं मिलेगा राइट ये मैं आपको गारंटी दे सकता हूँ राइट सो कोई बात नहीं वो सर तो जैसे ही ठीक होंगे वो आपकी क्लासेस लेंगे राइट वो आपका बैकलॉग सब कवर कर देंगे उसकी कोई इशू नहीं है वो मतलब एक्स्ट्रा टाइम भी दे देंगे कोई राइट मेरी साइड से भी मैं ट्राई करूंगा एक्स्ट्रा टाइम बात करने का क्लास इंटरनल टीम से अगर अलाउ करते हैं तो राइट नहीं होगा तो हम थोड़ा स्पीड अप कर लेंगे राइट मैं बेसिकली ट्राई करता हूँ कि सबको समझ आता है राइट वो ज्यादा जरूरी है okay so yeah you guys can just go ahead for tomorrow and try to basically solve as many problems as you can if you face any sort of doubt we will be discussing it tomorrow right surely right but for today I guess the class is almost over it's almost 11:10 right so
थैंक
I
यू
guess
सर
that sums up for today right okay all right guys so yeah we will meet tomorrow right okay thank you guys